as you get me straight out of the gym with my workout clothes, sweaty and disgusting. But I have great wisdom to share with you, and it is called 3 Reasons Why Referrals Are Bad for Your Business. I know you're probably saying, what are you talking about? We would die to have referrals. And I'm happy for you if you would die to have referrals, but in working with so many small businesses, here are the traps that I've seen businesses who wait for referrals fall into, or who get referrals fall into. So the first one is, if your business is run on referrals, you have no control over the quality of leads that you're getting, the quality of clients that you're getting. And here's an example of, and this is something that I wrote on my email blogs that I was sending to you, but our little guy, he's 10 now, was diagnosed as being on the spectrum of autism when he was around, I guess, 4 years old. And our pediatrician gave us the name of what he called a parenting coach to help us through this. And when I went to the woman's website and when I went through her whatever LinkedIn, it said that she was a leadership coach. So this is the reverse of getting a quality lead, but getting quality referrals. I was not looking for someone like her. I was looking for someone who was, an actual expert in the problem, because when you say that you do everything and you don't have a defined niche or an expertise and you're just operating on referrals, you'll just get it. And if you don't have a niche, then you'll get anybody referred to you. Then the quality of leads that you get are terrible. And I used to have clients who hired me because of that problem, because they'd be getting referrals who couldn't hire them and weren't even qualified to work with them. So when you're dependent on referrals, that's the number one thing that happens, is you have no control over the quality of the referrals. The second reason why referrals are, I think, bad for you is the consistency. So I worked with an ad agency. I've worked with many ad agencies as a client, and they hired me because the number one problem that they were trying to solve was the consistency of leads that they got from referrals, because they found that it could be so feast or famine for them that all of a sudden they could get 3-4 referrals at the same time, and yet be going for very long periods of time without referrals. And they were, unfortunately, trying to do their own thing in between, but they didn't really have a consistent message, a consistent niche, a consistent plan or a programming or anything, because they were waiting for the referrals and it was so inconsistent. So number 3 is really the quantity. The problem is the quantity. Why referrals are bad is because you may not be getting enough referrals. And often, every business that I meet, they tell me, if they've been in business for a couple of years, they say, I ask them, how do you get your clients? And they say, oh, it's through referrals. And the next question I always ask is that enough for your growth? Are you getting enough referrals for the kind of growth that you want? And inevitably, they almost always say no. The few cases where they're outgrowing, they're growing so fast that they can't even invest in their own marketing because the referrals are coming in so fast, which is an amazing position to be in which case they have to scale up quickly with quality staff and internal infrastructure to be able to meet that demand. But that is hardly ever the case. Most of the time it's that they don't have enough referrals to get going. So the quantity, and I'll tell you the story of a client. Her name was Gina. She had been doing HR consulting for 20 years, and obviously by then she had referrals, but it wasn't fast enough for her. So what we did is, she was one of the stories that I told on the webinar last week. We niched her from leadership coaching into decision-making coaching for leaders in manufacturing companies. And she became the thought leader around why and how mid-level managers at those manufacturing companies could become more efficient and effective in decision-making and save the production slowdown from happening and the costs from piling up. So that was the reason why Gina hired me, is because the quantity of referrals that she was getting wasn't enough. So I told you the 3 reasons why I thought referrals were bad, but I actually came up with 4. And you could say that the 4th one kind of ties into all of them, is that you become dependent on referrals, which makes you weak. And I have the story of a client who consistently, their way to grow prospects and clients and their marketing was to invest in new sales reps from the industry, and to either hire from the competitor or from the industry and use their Rolodex. So for example, if they wanted to grow into a new state, they would go and find a sales rep in that state, in that industry, who had already a Rolodex of potential prospects to call on. But it wasn't sustainable, because once that sales rep ran out of his Rolodex, or his contacts became not viable or moved off, or something happened, then you still needed to be able to generate sales on your own. So that's what I think referrals, being dependent on referrals, is not the answer. And a lot of companies that are aware of the fact that strategic planning and marketing needs to happen, because they can't be dependent on these referrals, and because it's not growing fast enough for them, it's not bringing the kind of referrals, the quality, the quantity, the frequency, all those things are taken out of your hand, and you become dependent on an outside source to bring you business. So those are bad things. So let me tell you, which is why I'm driving up to the point of the new webinar that I'm doing this Friday. Yes, this Friday, in just a few days. Is it like 3 days? And it's called No Referrals, No Problem. And in it, I will show you the step-by-step way that I found clients in a whole new market called the US, because I'm from Canada, and how, in fact, how I started my business in the first place, because I started my business and I had worked for a corporation for 18 years. And when you are a marketing manager for large companies, the people that you network with are not the people that you sell to, when you have your own small coaching business. They are, in fact, as different as night and day. So I had no networks when I started my business, and I had to start from scratch, and I had to make the same six-figure living as I did in my job that I left. So those are the things that we're going to talk about. I'm going to show you the step-by-step methods of how to get referrals, even if you land, a plane drops you in the middle of Africa and you don't even know where you are and you don't know what to do. I'm going to show you the exact way that I built my business, knowing nobody, first in this market in Canada and then in the American market. So much so that last year I got a US visa to work in the US, so that, because a lot of my business, most of my business is in the US, so that gives me enormous growth potential. And you'll see the secrets of how I did it and how you can do it as well. So come and join us on Friday. It's 12 noon Eastern, and I'm going to do it again live at 7 p.m. Eastern. I'll see you there. And yeah, I'm glad you can't smell me, because I'm going straight into the shower after this one. Ugh. Thanks.